Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll start our meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. This is the Union Township Board of Trustees regular meeting for July 23rd, 2020. Let the record show that all three trustees are present, including our fiscal officer, Mr. Ron Campbell. I want to thank everyone for trying to social distance at our meeting and also wearing masks. And thank you, Mr. Loeb, for providing some stars and stripes. We're starting to sport those, and it looks really nice. So I took my mask off temporarily while I'm speaking, just so everybody can clearly hear what I'm saying, but we'll try to do our best to wear the mask as much as possible, so thank you. So gentlemen, and if you do have your mask on, please try to speak directly in your microphone when you're speaking, because people have told me they're having a hard time hearing us, like on the recordings and things like that, so just be cognizant of where your microphone is. Our first item of business is approval of our minutes. The first would be the July 9th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. You've had a chance to look those over. Gentlemen, if there's no questions or changes, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Next will be approval of the July 9th, 2020 zoning meeting. Is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Second. Roll call. Mr. Loeb?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Our next item of business is correspondence. Mr. Campbell, did you have anything to report tonight?
I have none, thank you.
Okay. Very good. We'll move on to our department reports. Our first report tonight will be from our Fire and Emergency Medical Service, Chief Stan Dimling reporting.
Thank you, Mr. McGraw. I figured I would give you a summary of a few events that we had over the last several months since we hadn't been given your reports because we didn't have a second meeting. The first one is on the afternoon of April 13th, fire and EMS units were dispatched to Vixen Drive for a reported residential structure fire. Responding units could see smoke from several blocks away, and the first arriving unit reported a working fire with flames and smoke coming from a second floor window. Personnel forced entry into the home conducted a search for victims, extinguished the fire. Damage to the home and contents was estimated to be over $50,000. There were no injuries reported, and although the fire remains under investigation, it is believed to have been intentionally set. On Friday, June 5th at 7:11 p.m., Union Township and the Milford Community Fire Department both responded to the area of 275 northbound at the 61-mile marker for a vehicle fire. Upon arrival, crews discovered a vehicle parked on the left shoulder with fire coming from the engine compartment. During fire extinguishment, 2 lanes of I-275 were closed down for traffic control. All the fire damage was contained to the engine compartment with smoke damage to the passenger compartment. Damage to that was $2,300. Just after 7 p.m. on Sunday, June 14th, units were dispatched to the Vinings Drive for a multi-family structure fire. Prior to arrival, heavy black smoke could be seen from several miles away. Crews found the front of the building, second floor landing on fire, spreading to the third floor and into the attic space of a large 3-story apartment building. Crews were able to quickly extinguish the fire before significant spread into the attic. No injuries were reported, and damage was contained to the stairwell and attic space above the stairwell. The cause of the fire appears to be the result of careless disposal of smoking material, and damage was about $10,000. On that particular fire, we received mutual aid from the Anderson Township Fire and Rescue, Central Joint Fire and EMS, and we also had the assistance of the American Red Cross because 2 families were displaced out of the apartment building. And then lastly, around 1:30 a.m. on Saturday, June 27th, the department was alerted of an apartment fire on Bennett Road with fire coming from a window. Upon arrival, the first due engine company to the 3-story multifamily structure found heavy fire venting from a 3rd-floor window. Crews were able to stretch a 300-foot hand line from the engine to the third-floor apartment to extinguish and search for potential victims. The Union Township Police Department assisted with the evacuation of 10 of the 11 occupied units in that building. All fire damage was contained to the top floor unit. Crews remained on the scene for several hours for overhaul, cleanup, and fire investigation. Cause of that fire is still currently under investigation, and that one also appears to be incendiary in nature. Damage estimate was more than $12,000. And just, you may notice that two of those that we've highlighted here tonight, two of those fires were intentional acts or criminal acts that occurred. You know, I have the opportunity to investigate fires not only throughout Union Township, but throughout the region, Clermont County and neighboring counties. In that capacity, I have the occasion to interact with multiple law enforcement agencies. So, and I don't think unless you have the opportunity to interact with multiple different police agencies, you can't appreciate the quality of the police and the detectives that we have working here in Union Township. You know, arson by its very nature is a tough crime to prove. If, you know, the fire obviously damages and eliminates and spoils some of the evidence, and firefighting activity spoils a little bit more of it. So it's a very tough crime to prove, and it's even a tougher crime to get a conviction. I'm happy to say that with both these intentionally set fires, both cases, suspects were quickly identified, apprehended, and charged, and that's thanks to the hard work of the Union Township Police Department. And I just wanted to give them a shout out tonight and say thanks for all the hard work. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Chief Caviglia and your department for helping out there. Certainly interesting stories that you've told here tonight, and when these kind of things happen, we want swift action to bring people to justice so they don't happen again. So we appreciate everybody's effort from the fire department through the police department to take care of this, so thank you. Gentlemen, any other comments or questions?
Well spoken.
Just second that, yeah. I mean, tremendous work by both the fire department and the police, and working with our mutual aid, so thank you. The men and women do a fantastic job for Union Township and outside the region.
Okay. We'll move on to our next report. This is from our police department now. Chief Scott Gaviglia reporting.
Thank you, Mr. McGraw. I have some highlights from the investigative unit for June of 2020. Investigative unit indicted a Robert Russ, 40 of Union Township, with a felony theft and felony passing bad checks for cashing a payroll checks 2 times. I've actually seen this a couple times now, so we've sent some flyers to the bank to try and stop some of this from getting out of hand. We arrested a Justin Kennedy, 40, Clarence Edwards, 63, and a juvenile, all 3 of Dillsboro, Indiana, for aggravated burglary, felony first degree, aggravated robbery, felony first degree, and felonious assault, felony second degree. After investigation revealed they unlawfully entered a residence in the 4150 block of Mount Carmel Tobesca Road and assaulted 2 victims with a firearm. After the victims were assaulted and held at gunpoint, the U.S. currency was stolen. We were able to track them down in Indiana and take all 3 into custody. Investigators arrested another juvenile of Mason for making up a report about being kidnapped in the Barge Salt Run area. It turned out it was something a little different than that, but we expended a great deal of resources trying to get to the bottom of that. And that concludes my report, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Any comments or questions?
No, I have none. Thank you, Chief. Well done.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. Those are very serious incidents that occurred. Thankful to have you and the men there.
And also thanks to your department. I'm sure we'll hear about more of this in the future when you have a full report on it, but the strange occurrence with the tractor trailer driver from Butler County all the way that ended up almost in Union Township. And I know our police department ended up participating in that situation, so I appreciate, you know, a really strange situation. That's when you really need police involved, and I know the Cincinnati SWAT team ended up being able to disable the vehicle and stop it, but, so thanks to our department too for participating.
I'll have more on that at the next meeting.
Thank you. Appreciate
you.
that. Okay, we move on to our service department tonight. The next report is from Matt Taylor, Director.
Thank you, Mr. McGraw. From the Cemetery Division from July 1st through the 15th, 15 burials were performed, generating $8,050. 13 resident graves were purchased, generating $7,150. One columbarium niche was purchased for $1,275. One cremation scattering garden was purchased, totaling $500. The total amount generated was $18,588.40. In the roads division, a total of 26 workers were completed on 25 township roads, and 92 potholes were repaired on 16 township streets. And in the Parks Division, trees were pruned at Veterans and Klepper Park, and the Board of Health did their inspections on all the township concession stand areas, and they all successfully passed. And that concludes my report.
Very good. Always good to be in good shape with the health department.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
So thank you for doing an outstanding job with the, any other comments or questions?
No,
Thank you, Mr.
absolutely,
Taylor.
thank you. Trying time, and they're doing great work.
Our next report tonight is from our Planning and Zoning Department, Mr. Corey Wright, Director.
Thank you, Mr. McGraw. For the month of July, mid-month, we fielded one commercial change of occupancy permit, 2 signed permits, and 5 new single-family home permits. We also issued one additional multifamily permit for 2 residences or units. We had 18 pool and fence permits, and the remaining projects were homeowner projects. 34 permits for the month of July, mid-month through July 15th, $2,945 in monthly revenue. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. Gentlemen, any questions or comments?
No. Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Keep seeing a lot of busy activity around the township, so thank you for your hard work.
Absolutely.
Our next report tonight is from our Administrator, Mr. Ken Geis.
Thank you. As directed by the Board of Trustees, we did certify and file the resolutions with the county auditor for the valuations on the millage, and I'd really like to just compliment the auditor's office on the turnaround of that. They got the information back to us very quickly and provided us with the information, and based upon what they said, that generally speaking, 1 mil of levy will generate about $1 million annually, pretty much what we had anticipated prior to that. All the light poles at the Civic Center were primed and painted. You probably wouldn't have ever really thought about it until they're done. They look great now. It really actually enhanced the parking lot. Since the last meeting, the ASME union executed their portion of the contract, and we will file that with SERB. So things are complete, and that will concludes all of our collective bargaining agreements with Union Township for really about 3 more years. The police department had the accreditation team in the last week, and really they did a great job. And that's a process that really is ongoing, and the police department's required to maintain a specific level of performance, just like all of our departments. Our service department, Public Works is accredited, as well as our cemetery, the communications division is accredited, and the fire department is accredited. This year was different because of the COVID. The assessors were virtually here. They weren't on site. And again, even through that trying time, they had nothing but positive things to say about the police department and the communications division. We're continuing to work on the closings for the Glancy-Withensville and Beechwood properties. I believe that the Beechwood Road property will close tomorrow on that, and we have overcome some really some title objection things on the Glancy-Withensville property, and that is proceeding as well. The JED members conducted the balance of the JED meetings on July 17th. No issues were reported during any of those meetings, and all of the new members were reaffirmed, and they're continuing on. And the last thing on the purchase orders for tonight, the majority of those are things related to the COVID purchase, and the balance of those are reimbursable in that. So we have over $100,000 of new equipment that we are going to purchase, and through some of the subsidies of the CARES Act and the resolution that the Board of Trustees passed earlier this year, we will receive that money back. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Geis. Any comments or questions, gentlemen?
No, thank you, Mr. Geis, for your input. I appreciate it very much. Very well done.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Geis.
Once again, a good job by the police department with accreditation. I know there's a lot of questions nationally about police departments, whether to fund them or defund them and things like that, but a lot of police departments don't go through this accreditation process and don't have a set of eyes looking at the operation. And I think it's important, we can sit here all day and say we got a great police department, but it's a whole different thing when an outside agency comes in and it goes over everything about the police department, and they say we're doing a great job. So I want to congratulate Chief Gaviglia and all your staff for continuing to do a great job. And that includes our communications department, correct? I believe so, right?
Yes.
So we not only have our police department, we have our 911 communications department, and they work hand in hand together. So a great job to get through that process. So thank you.
Well, and really further in support with that too, you know, on the, as you alluded to, the national, you know, issues that are ongoing right now, but at the federal level, having police reform calling for nationwide standards and accreditation, I mean, I think that puts us ahead of, you know, what requirements are gonna come down and get levied on the local government. So that's really a great point to be out and ahead of that and already not have to go through those learning curves in the first place. So, support exactly what you're saying, but in addition to that, you know, we're really kind of ahead of the nation when it comes to those requirements that we're pushing. So, you know, fantastic work across the board. And Mr. Geis, just as a follow-up, yeah, I absolutely recognize then that the auditor's office turned that within a day. I mean, I think it was maybe half a day. So it was fantastic work to be able to get that valuation back from the auditor's office so quick. So, thank you.
All right, great. We'll move right along to, there's no public hearings tonight. Gentlemen, is there any old business?
I have none.
So we'll move on to new business. The first item is approval of payments. This is, we're asking to approve the bills as prepared by Mr. Ron Campbell, our fiscal officer. And gentlemen, you have a copy of those. If there's no questions, I'll ask for a motion to approve the bills as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you again, Mr. Campbell, for always having these in neat order and easy to understand order. And then these eventually go on our website so people can review them at any time. All right, our next thing is our monthly financial report. This is also prepared by Mr. Ron Campbell, our fiscal officer. Gentlemen, did you have any questions or comments? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve the monthly financial
I
report.
have no comments. Done well. Well done. Thank you, Mr. Campbell.
And I move to approve.
Second?
Roll call. Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, we have approval of our purchase orders. As practice, we always not only approve these in a meeting, these are purchase orders exceeding $10,000. We also asked Mr. Ken Geis, our township administrator, to read through those. So, Mr. Geis, could you please explain what they are tonight?
Thank you. The first is to Duke Energy. It's for the gas and electric for the Civic Center for 3 months at $36,000. The last three are the COVID-related items that I talked about. EA Medical LLC, it's for portable air and surface UV disinfection machines for facilities throughout the township at $23,000. Valley Janitor Supply Company, disinfection sprayers, supplies, and equipment for the facilities at $22,000. And the last is Stryker Sales Corporation for the Lucas Robotic CPR machine and supplies at $109,507.
Thank you, Mr. Geis. Any questions, gentlemen?
No, I have none. Thank you.
Okay. I'll ask then for a motion to approve the purchase orders as presented.
So moved, sir.
Second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Logue?
Yes, sir.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, gentlemen, we have two resolutions tonight we're being asked to adopt. The first is Resolution 2020-21, a resolution to proceed to levy a tax exceeding the 10 mil limitation for the fire department of the township. We're being asked to adopt this resolution, proceeding to a tax levy exceeding the 10 mil limitation for the fire department of the township. Gentlemen, I believe this is a 2 mil levy that we're being asked to approve here. Is there any comments or questions before we ask for a motion?
No, I think it speaks for itself. It's a much-needed situation we have here in the township. We have the need for financing our police and fire and make sure that they're kept up with the needs that they have, the equipment, personnel. We haven't had a bond issue for our safety services since 2009. We've had, it was supposed to be a 5 mil, 5-year, excuse me, levy. We've done very well. We brought it to 11 years. I think we've done very well with that. And I'm all in favor of having a 2 mil levy for our fire department. Excuse me. Go ahead.
All right. Anything else?
Trustee McGee, yeah, I mean, absolutely agree with you again. And for those that weren't at the last meeting or watching, or just running through some of the facts and updates with that. You know, my review and analysis with it is, you know, just that, the last levy, last budget that was passed for safety service essentially is 2009. You know, that's a budget that is going on 11 years right now. I mean, that fundamentally in itself, that can be perceived as defunding the police because they don't have an updated current budget to go along with it. So from the information Mr. Geis shared with us last week or 2 weeks ago at the meeting, you know, it identified that there's really, you know, from actual costs incurred last year and then looking into the next year, there's about a $6 million deficit of that, which becomes subsidized through TIF and JED funding. Last year had to go about $1.5 million into the general fund to be able to cover that. So, you know, from one fundamental aspect, that's identifying what the current request is from police, fire, and for safety services, and what the need is, you know, and evaluating this and looking at it. I mean, what we sent off was 2 mills each, which is $4 million in total. You know, you look at that, that's essentially a 65%, 35% cost share. So in a way, that's not really giving the full budget that is absolutely needed. You know, but in a way, that's an ability to cost share and stay efficient. And you know, and that's a real question to ask. How efficient is police, fire, safety services currently? You know, and if you benchmark that against Westchester Township. Westchester Township is the #1 size township in the state of Ohio with 60,000 residents. Union Township's roughly 50,000 residents. We're about number 8 in the list there. Their police and fire, their police alone is what, 110 officers. Last year they fielded 49,000 calls. Our officers hover right around about 55 officers, correct? And last year we fielded about 51,000 calls. So we're doing more with less. And when you look at their budget, Westchester's total budget is $36 million for both police and fire across the board. Union Township's budget last year was roughly right around $16 million for the actual costs incurred of police, fire, safety services, and looking forward to this next year being roughly right around $18 million. So that's where you really identify, yeah, it's being efficient. They're being efficient in managing taxpayer dollars and what they're doing. I mean, just benchmarking, comparing it to other similar sized townships. So, you know, that's, to me, that's a strong metric to look at. And then as a follow-up, it's really, you know, this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for the citizens and involvement to, you know, make the decision, fund the police, fund the fire, It's physically conservative to give a stable, fully funded budget. That's a good thing, but it's the citizens' opportunity to be able to vote and have that say in what the funding strategy for the government should be. You know, if it's fully funded in that way, or if the staff needs to be more aggressive than has been with, through use of development, through TIF, through JED, through those type of means that, as Trustee McGee stated, you know, has carried it for the last 11 years. So, you know, I think that at the end of the day, that's the fantastic thing, is it's the people's choice and it's that opportunity. And really one added aspect on that we can talk about, or look forward to, when I was out engaged in the community quite a lot, I heard a lot about Ohio Open Checkbook, and I was able to do some research and check and see that what we currently pay for, we have, from reaching back to the vendor, we have the capability to be able to integrate from a technology standpoint. Now, we're very efficient with our manpower, so I don't know what the additional manpower drive is on that, and that's something that we definitely want to have weigh in from our fiscal officer and be able to look at. But I think across the board, when you're identifying the fact that, you know, just the relationship that Trustee McGee just explained there, that, you know, for the last 11 years, the police, fire, safety services have been operating and being subsidized. You know, if you want to understand or recognize that, that might be a starting point to be able to see that. And I think that that's beneficial to help the community be able to recognize that and be able to stay, but pretty much understand across the board where the decisions are. Because, I mean, I do a lot of research coming into these meetings, and try to have, you know, as much frank discussion as I can with our fellow, you know, trustees here at these meetings. So, yeah, I think that that's an added benefit there to be able to have that. So I think as we talk and look at levies, I think it's also very important that we at least look at what steps could be an integration for Ohio Open Checkbook and get some of that feedback. So I think before moving into levies, I personally would want to make a motion that we at least explore and get what the pro-cons are on being able to implement this technology that's there and be able to have that as an added capability and an added service for the community members. So if I need to make that as a formal motion or hear any feedback right now, I'm absolutely open ears on that.
Okay, I think we ought to stick to what we're already working, the resolution we're already working on. When we're done with these resolutions, if you want to have an open discussion about the Ohio checkbook and make a motion, I think that would be the appropriate time to do it. We can certainly do that.
Okay.
Go ahead and finish these resolutions, and then we'll have that discussion.
Okay.
And whatever motion you decide to make, we can certainly explore what you're talking about.
Just-
So I'd like to hear more about what you've got to say about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So anything else regarding the current resolution we're working on?
No, sir.
You guys both spoke very well, and I don't need to repeat exactly what you said because you did a good job of it, explaining it. But I think the key item here is we've gone as long as we possibly can to avoid having a tax levy and asking for more money. We've tried every avenue we can. We've been very creative as far as saving on equipment, not always buying brand-new equipment, but we've been able to buy some, you know, barely used equipment for a lot cheaper price. And we've done a lot of measures to save money and have good equipment at the same time. So I think it's important. We just can't proceed continuing down the path we're on there because we're going to deplete all the funds. So at this point, there's something that has to be done in order to stop that. So is there a motion then for this resolution to adopt Resolution 2020-21?
I make a motion that we adopt resolution 2020-21.
I'll second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee,
Yes.
Mr. McGraw,
Yes.
Mr. Logue.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Gentlemen, the next resolution is similar to the previous resolution. However, this is for the police department. This is Resolution 2020-22. Resolution to proceed to a levy to a tax exceeding 10 mil limitation for the police department of the township. We're being asked to adopt this resolution, which would be a 2 mil levy exceeding the 10 mil limitation for the police department of the township. Is there any discussion regarding the police levy?
I'll say the same thing, is, don't want to be repetitious, but the same thing as I said previously. 2009 levy was a safety services levy for both fire and police. Now we're putting forward the levies separate, 2 mils for each, and I think they're much needed. I think Mr. Logue spoke very well about the matter. I think Mr. McGraw and I, in previous meetings and this meeting, have all said the same thing. It's a much-needed item. We think that our personnel need the proper equipment, we need more personnel on our police and fire department, which we are way down on personnel, and it's something maybe in the future we can look forward to with getting the proper funding to put these situations in and set them a hand, get them in the past.
Absolutely, Trustee McGee. I think and one added aspect on that too is the potential that, again, from looking at it with what the need is and having essentially right now, I think that 4 mil drives, I don't know, roughly a 65%, 35% cost share in a way. That potential too is, you know, if from JED or TIF, if there's any ability to, something there that is not sustainable into the future, but if there's any ability with the JED TIF funds to be able to, you know, be able to utilize any of that for, if it's for parks or if it's for our, any road resurfacing projects, you know, other areas that are critical to the essential services that are provided by the township that are needed. And frankly, for that, you know, there's no park levy, and, you know, there's nothing that is funding that separately. So, I mean, I think that's a tremendous value to be able to add back to the community from that. So, just further addition there.
Well, I'll remind you, though, the JED funds we have more leeway with, but the TIF funds are specific
Yep.
as far as infrastructure, as far as they can fund safety services
Yep.
and also streets.
Yes, road, yeah.
However, those aren't discretionary funds that we can spend any way we want to. So
Correct.
that's always something to keep in mind. But having said that, by doing new projects, by having new business come, we've been able to enhance our police and fire departments, keep the taxes lower for the residents, and proceed without having to, you know, ask for levies all the time. If you look around at all the neighboring townships and cities, and you can go to Dayton or you can go to Toledo, wherever you want to go, they've all had, in the last 10 years, a lot of cases to raise taxes on different services. And we've worked really hard to, because we understand the value of our residents, the burden of homeowners paying, because we're not a city where we, you know, have an earnings tax. So we realize, you know, this is something that has to be done in a way that helps the residents, you know, budget their money as well. So it's a balancing act, and we've done our best to try to bring funds from new projects, new developments, to try to keep up with the expenses. And we just reached a point where that's just not possible at this point. So that's the reason why we're at the point we are. So I think you both did a great job of explaining, once again, especially comparing to a comparable township like Westchester, where the manpower and the amount of personnel they have is much higher than what we have, and our calls are actually higher than theirs.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I mean, that kind of clearly explains that
We're doing the job.
we're doing a great job of managing the funds, we're doing a great job of getting the job done. We really appreciate our firefighters and our police officers for going the extra mile and being able to do that. We couldn't do that without great personnel, so they are definitely towing the line for us and doing a great job, so so thrilled to be able to work with them. So
Absolutely. Not for myself to be long-winded on more of that, but in the simplest terms of that, I mean, we're twice as efficient and we spend half as much. So, I mean, that's, if you're benchmarking, you're looking at anything for business case analysis, it's very strong, very strong.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
Very true.
All right, we'll proceed then. Is there a motion then to adopt Resolution 2020-22?
So moved.
Second?
Roll call. Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes, sir.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so I'm going to circle back then to, thank you, gentlemen, for that discussion. Go back to Mr. Logue. Mr. Logue, you brought up about the Ohio checkbook, open checkbook. Now, this is a matter of procedure, and this is really my preference. You guys may have a different preference. But what I'd like, unless it's a small detail, like changing a meeting date or something, if we're going to have a motion or make a major change, I like having that on the agenda ahead of time,
Okay.
so that the residents can look and know that, hey, they're going to be discussing this tonight, and I'd like to be there for that.
Okay.
Doesn't mean we can't have an open discussion, but my preference would be, in most cases, unless, depending on what your motion's going to be, would be to have that motion at a future meeting if we're going to make a major change, so residents have a chance to think about that and see, and maybe communicate to us, like, don't do that or do that. We agree with you. So, having said that, I'm going to give you the leeway. I'm open for going ahead and moving forward on an item. I'm not saying we shouldn't do that. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I just prefer to have it on the agenda ahead of time if we're going to make a major change.
So I can totally agree with you on that, and, as far as that goes, yeah, I had the question prior to this as far as if it would be something that would require a resolution or to be on the agenda. And as far as it goes, because it's a matter of, Mr. Geis, would you be able to give the rationale that your statement that it did not necessarily need to be a resolution, or?
The discussion on this certainly is open for the board to talk about. There would not be a specific requirement that there be a resolution or this be an agenda item. And certainly the board's open to discussing any topic that they choose to do.
And to adopt a procedure to include that, this was not a resolution-driven procedure, correct? To be able to adopt and be able to go with the Ohio, that's why there's not a resolution on the agenda? The check that you did with Mr. Barbieri, as far as the resolution, the Ohio Open Checkbook would not need to be a resolution? It could just be a simple motion?
I don't have a specific
Okay.
opinion from Mr. Barbieri as to, on that, but, to talk about this and
Yeah.
discuss this, between the board members and with the input of the fiscal officer, certainly open to do that during the board
That's
meeting.
my question. I'd like to, involve the trustees, talk to our fiscal officer, see what this is all going to entail. Is it going to add considerable amount of work to his office? Is it going to take less work? What is it going to happen? I think we need to check into this further and table it for the night, and,
But you're welcome to go ahead and make a statement.
you can make a
Yeah,
statement on
can you
whatever
go ahead and
want.
talk about what you would like to do in your rationale?
Yeah, so my rationale with that is, again, I think that, one, what we're looking at tonight with levies going on the ballot, this is something that I believe the community, and from what I heard, strong support of. Ohio Checkbook has a name, it's known, it's recognized, it's part of, when Josh Mandel was in the state office, that it was part of the transparency project. We do great transparency. Physical officer has all of our documents online. It's out
Amen.
there. We don't have, the one maybe delta with that, as I spoke prior with Mr. Geis on this, is this adds a search functionality, a search feature. So I don't know if you're always gonna see anything that lines up, because what the physical officer does is essentially state required reports and what goes to the state. And this is like looking at the checkbook. This is just looking at, money coming in, money going out. So it just gives people the ability to have involvement with essentially taxpayer dollars, where their dollars are going, and just have curiosity and feedback with that. So my motion overall with it, you know, and as I did prep for this to have, now I know your preference that you definitely want to see something on the agenda, so we'll hold that, you know, forward, moving forward. But, you know, on this, it would at least, at the very least, be, one, it's recognizing the software solutions that is our vendor. We have the visual intelligence portfolio. I had a discussion with Software Solutions back in April or so. You know, because for me, that was something I heard a lot from the community about, overwhelming support of. And so I wanted to reach out to our vendor and find out just what is the gap there. And I was able to identify that there's no added cost for the township to be able to have this capability. And I think it's a fantastic capability for the township to be able to have. I do have the concern if manpower, because Trustee McGee always states, you know, it's Mr. Campbell and, you know, and his office of one, what is the additional labor or man hours with that? You know, however, you know, when I look at this, and I'm not the one plugging it in, so, you know, I don't jump to conclusions with things, but this is you know, a process to export that the vendor sent me that basically said, here's how you're gonna be able to have that capability and utilize it. You know, so I think the appropriate approach on that is to, you know, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know those answers right now. We could make assumptions all day long, but I think the appropriate thing would be to, you know, have a motion, be able to, one, take a look at the processes with internal to the office, have the office staff that actually would be doing this workload, look through it, you know, see what type of time allocation that comes to it for the manpower, and come back as far as, hey, this is absolutely, you know, something that we can support, you know, without driving additional manpower costs inside the office. And, you know, if there's any pro cons to it that are revealed. You know, again, we don't know what we don't know. You know, the one thing is, just like looking at Westchester, we do things, you know, use that simple term, you know, twice as good and, you know, and twice as efficient. So I would look that this approach would happen the same way. So even if other townships, how they may handle it or approach it, you know, I think that having, you know, roughly $70 million annual budget, it's something that we'd be able to facilitate and do. I think it's just a great value added. So, you know, I'm not saying, it sounds like everyone wants to have some more feedback or some more review from it. So I think the appropriate steps there would be to either to take a look at a transition period or an implementation plan and understand what the implementation may be and have that feedback. You know, and frankly, it could be appropriate that it's a try to go live with something and have it for, you know, time period, 6 months, and see what type of feedback there was and what type of pitfalls there were. And then it can become more of a decision to make a, you know, permanent decision or direction with it and identify it that way. So, you know, I don't know if any feedback from either Trustee McGee, Trustee McGraw on it tonight, but I'm open to yours for your thoughts
What I
on
would
it.
suggest is, in my opinion, Mr. Geis, to put this on as an agenda item for the next meeting, where then we'll have an open vote on it, discussion, or if there's no motion, then we wouldn't have a vote.
See if Mr. Campbell has any.
But it gives everybody a chance to get the facts together, look into it, you know, by the next meeting, and I think that's plenty of time, and then we can get input from the trustees and Mr. Campbell as far as the pros and cons. And one thing that I'm going to mention that I've seen a lot of is a lot of communities, this was originally set up for small communities that didn't really have a strong server. They didn't really have, you know, a big office to be able to put stuff out like on a website. So the state stepped up and made this available for smaller communities so they could have a place where people could look up items about their community. And so a lot of communities around here signed up for it and are on there, but very few of them are actually updating the information on a timely basis. So, I mean, some of the stuff could be a year old, it could be, at best, 3 months old. You're looking at stuff from like February and March right now. That's for the best people supplying information for this. So I think people like hearing you're on the Ohio checkbook, maybe they feel like there's a comfort zone, but it doesn't, there's not a lot of people actually looking at it and checking into it and seeing how their communities are really spending. So it's kind of like, it's out there, but a lot of people don't take advantage of it, it would be the worst. I'm not saying that's the reason for us not to do it, I'm just saying, I hear a lot of talk about it, but the truth is, a lot of people don't do much about it. So, but I think we could have put this on the agenda next time, we'll have an up or down vote, and we can have a chance for a good discussion. That way, we have a chance to look into it and come back with our thoughts on it. And Mr. Campbell, did you have
Mr.
anything you
Campbell
wanted to add tonight?
Say something.
Sure. So, I mean, all you gotta do is ask me to look into it, I'll look into it. I mean, it's just that simple. You don't need a resolution or a vote tonight or anything. I mean, if you want me to look into it, I will, but just knowing what I know about it now, there's obviously an issue here that people don't use it, they don't update it. And my whole concern here was to try to put accurate information out, and since I've been the fiscal officer, it doesn't get any more transparent than Union Township. We videotape our meetings, all the addendums are out there, we pay the bills every week, these guys get it every single week from me, and we have become very transparent. My fear is checkbook will never balance with our statement of cash position in our monthly reports. So then somebody's gonna say, well, you know, it doesn't balance. Why doesn't it balance? Because when you do journal entries like we do, when you do debt service payments, that stuff doesn't hit the checkbook. So it's never gonna be in balance. And that's the greatest fear I got, because then it does make it look like you're misleading or you're withholding. And I don't really want to go down that path. But just looking around at the townships that are adjacent to us, out of the 8 townships that are signed up for this, you have some out there that hasn't had any activity back till 2018. So I'm not so sure how valuable a tool it is. You look at the cities around us, the 2 adjacent cities, and the latest entry is from June 29th of 20. And that is the closest one to being what I would consider up to date. So is it just exporting a file? I don't know enough about that to talk right now, but I'll get into it and I'll find out what it is. And if it's something that easy done, for sure we're gonna do it. But if it's something that's gonna take a lot of time and effort to do that, I'm not about putting more work on the one person that I got that works in the office. My fear before, and I told you before when you brought this up, is the stuff that we need that's out there is already there. All you gotta do is go to our website. Better than that, I invited you, if you've got a question or a problem with anything, all you gotta do is ask me. And I'll go get it for you. Whatever you think it is that you need that you don't have, I get it for you. That's my job.
Yes, I agree. You've been very transparent
I mean,
in all these matters.
I'll be more than happy to look into it, and I'll tell you what's going on with it. If it's something I think we can do and it's doable, yeah, I'll entertain that.
Okay.
But if it's something that's gonna be a problem for us, that, that's gonna cause a lot more work, I don't think it's worth the effort. And if I gotta go hire somebody, I think we're just taking money. I'm not about that. I've got one person that works for me, one. $64 million appropriation this year, $64 million. You go anywhere else but Union Township, you'll find staffs of 7 and 8, you'll even find financial directors. We do it all. I think the residents of Union Township are getting their bang for their buck when it comes to the fiscal office.
Amen. I agree.
I'll look into it.
Yeah, thank you. And there's no threat there on the transparency aspect and towards the physical office on that. I think as Trustee McGraw stated, the intent initially with this is, that's something to recognize or understand, and on that side, if the intent is, and as you're describing the checkbook and how it's not gonna match journal entries, I think that's the rational explanation, that these two are not made to tie out together and to be aligned. I mean, you're doing the physical officer requirements that are mandated, you know, for the state and for, you know, for our mandatory reporting requirements. This is something that is a transparency project that's just that people have the ability to go through it and take a look at their leisure and not feel like they're putting time or energy or effort on the office itself. You know, and I think from that aspect too, the small townships that you describe, I mean, in a way, we're kind of structured in that nature, honestly, because we don't have the large, robust department. So we've got a large budget, but we don't have that large, robust department. So it'd be great to see if there'd be any type of cost savings there. But I believe that what we've learned with the hack and everything for our servers and what we're doing to make our township business safe, secure, cybersecurity there. I mean, I don't think that would be an opportunity to open itself up, but as you're alluding to, Ms. Trustee McGraw, you know, that's what other townships have that ability to do, is basically utilize the state server, so there's no cost to store that transparency project out there of Ohio Open Checkbook. So, you know, it's just good to hear the pro cons and the updates on that and see, you know, just is, you know, at least a pleasant surprise to hear from the vendor providing this for us, that for no additional cost, we can have I believe it's the 14-step procedure that they sent to us, which, you know, anything that starts going into the technology export function and capability can, if anyone's ever, you know, worked a lot of computer programs that talk to each other, you can run into some issues, which is why I think we want to have our due diligence here and be able to hear back and see what actual barriers there are that are in place. But I mean, I think it's a great first step to be able to adequately address and review and see, you know, if this is a capability that's available. So, Mr. Campbell, thank you for that. Thanks for looking into that too during this last week. Thank you.
All right. So thank you, Mr. Logue, for the detailed information you gave us on that. At this time, I'm going to open the floor for comments from our board members. So if there's anything else, gentlemen, did you want to talk about tonight?
Yes, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, for you out there that have been with the community for many years, excuse me, having a trouble tonight. I want you to know that 16 years ago yesterday, we had the groundbreaking ceremonies on the west end of this lot for this big, beautiful structure you have in here, this 57,000 square foot structure here. And today is the 16th year anniversary of us being in this building. It took 1 year and a day to build this structure. And I'm very proud to say that I was on the board of trustees at that time, and we've done very well. And Mr. Geis was our administrator still then. You were here too, weren't you, Ron? And I just thought that a little bit of tidbit of information that you may want to put down and put in your little brain up there. This big, beautiful building has been great for our West Clermont School District and for our senior citizens and for the many citizens of the township have used our gymnasium and the many offices and meeting rooms that we have, and also our beautiful amphitheater in the back, and the metro system that comes in here every day. And I want to thank you, Mr. Geis, for being a part of that, to get that together for us some 16 years ago. Thank you very much.
It still looks brand new today.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Very good.
That's all I have, sir. Thank
All
you.
right. Mr. Logue, anything else tonight?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Trustee McGee. I mean, and I think also, right, from the painting and priming, that's also protects the light poles and protects the investment that is out there. So it's not just, you know, nice on the eyes. It has a purpose that protects the overall investment for the long term, which is, you know, fantastic, which is what I think, Trustee McGee, you kind of see with again, the way the building's taken care of and the grounds are taken care of. So, and I think the last thing I'll just close on very briefly, Trustee McGraw, you said at the very beginning here about the, you know, our American flag. So just, you know, and it's something I handed out to them prior because, you know, for me personally, When first mandate had for where I had to go and had to be covered up, it was something that I had available, but really for me, it goes back to being in Iraq May 9th, 2005, and a Marine brother that I fought alongside with, we're out near the Syrian border, and we took fire from a city, and we went in and started clearing it out. And the very last house that we got to in that city, they waited until everyone kind of relaxed, and they opened up with anti-air machine guns underneath the concrete steel reinforced house that was built to be just that, a fighting kill position house. And Marine Staff Sergeant Anthony Goodwin, he was one that, for how we always combated the dust particulate and explosives in the region, me being a point man, making entry into a house, having C4 gases that you're breathing and concrete, and you name it, you want to keep that and the dirt and everything out of your lungs. So anyway, he wore an American flag. He took a machine gun round, a few of them, that day on May 9th and was killed. So anyway, I always remember and I always think of that. And right now when I think about everything that's going on in the country, I just think back to those sacrifices. So for me, it's a reminder. And, by all means, you guys wear whatever's comfortable at all times. But I stated that, I'd like to share that, and I'll share that with, the coworkers and the team that I feel that we're, representing, working towards. And, we're all Americans. We're all one team here. And,
Amen.
that's just, thank you. And can end with that. You guys have heard me be long-winded enough tonight, but just want to share that with you. So thank you.
Appreciate that, really.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your service once
No,
again.
Trust me, my honor and pleasure to do it. My body would not allow me to do it again, and it's made me who I am. So,
Awesome.
Thank you.
Very good. Gentlemen, one item I wanted to talk about tonight was, we had another round of energy aggregation letters go out. There's a great explanation on the township website about energy aggregation, electric and gas. So if you need more information on that, that's a great place to get information about the pricing. And this was something that was approved by the voters, and it's a way to save money on your Duke Energy bills. So I know there's a lot of confusion because a lot of companies try to get your business as far as electric and gas go, and that makes it even more confusing. And one of the reasons why I think it was good the voters did this is that we get one central price that people can understand, and you're not being taken advantage of with some like exit fees and upfront fees and things like that. So energy aggregation. Also, I'm willing to make myself available. Some people have come to me with I said, just bring me your Duke bill and I'll show you right on your bill where the prices come from. And if you can beat the price, you're able to opt out and go do it on your own. But if you want peace of mind and we got a really good deal for the next couple of years. The price can only go down, so I think it's a great opportunity to save lots of money. Maybe on your own particular energy bill, it's not a ton of money each year. But when you think about all the residents and all the homes here in Union Township added up, that's a lot of money that stays in our community that's not going out to Duke Energy or some other supplier.
Absolutely.
So money you can spend on something else. So, just want to bring that up because I know there were some questions about that, and people are always, every time it comes up, there's another round of questions. So just want to remind everybody it was approved by the voters. It wasn't something that the trustees, forced upon you. And that's like you said before with these upcoming, if these levies will be on the ballot, it'd be up to the residents really to decide. It's not up to us to raise the taxes or we can ask for the levy, that's all we can do. But it's up to the residents to make the final decision. So. And that gives you the opportunity to participate. So anything else, John?
The dinner function we went to the other night,
We did.
supposedly.
Yeah, we did have the salute to leaders, and Mr. McGee and myself were able to present an award to the Weiler family for their large donation they gave to the Boys and Girls Club that is under construction and partially open in Mount Carmel. And we've had a walkthrough when it was first being worked on, and it's really coming along. So
Beautiful done.
this is an opportunity for especially underserved and disadvantaged kids, or kids of all types that can go to this. It's open to everybody, and they made a very generous donation to help fund that, and
They
that's
did.
the reason why they received the Salute to Leaders Award from Union Township. And
Yes.
we had to do it virtually on Facebook, I believe, because of the COVID-19 situation. Couldn't have the large banquet like we normally do with everybody together at once. It was much limited, and we all socially distanced and did all that stuff. So, but it was nice, so I'm glad. And also coming up, we'll talk about it more at our next meeting, but we have our police awards that the chamber gives out each year, and that'll be coming up next week. So we'll talk more about that after those awards are concluded. So, anything else?
No, sir, I have nothing.
No, sir.
right.
Thank you.
That being the case, then we open the floor now for public comments. We'll allow you to speak if anyone here would like to speak on behalf of any topic. Is there anyone who would like to say something tonight? Yes, please. As customary, we ask everyone to state their name and address so we can put that in the record.
Excuse me, I'm Jeff Mancini. I live at 4919 Rumpke Road, and I just want to say that I agree with Trustee Logue, especially in the context of asking for another tax levy, that we need greater fiscal transparency. And Mr. Campbell, I took a look at the UT website, and the expenses are not itemized as to, for example, employee salaries, total compensation. It's just not itemized. You know, we need total transparency. And what comes to mind, I'm familiar with Transparent Nevada. You know, check out Transparent Nevada for an example of what I expect as a taxpayer. That's really all, that's my only comment. We need greater fiscal transparency, especially in the context of another levy.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Appreciate your comments. Yes, please. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name's Marla Goodwin. I live at 1228 Parkside Drive. I've been a resident of Union Township since 2008. And in 2012, I had the opportunity to go to the Citizens Police Academy. And it was eye-opening, a very eye-opening experience. And I learned a lot of statistics about how bad the crime really is in our state, in our county, in our city, and even close to home, Union Township. And it was a little scary, but I also learned how dedicated our police officers are. And to the community, and how much rigorous training that they go through in order to protect us. And then after the program, I was able to go on a ride-along with one of the officers, and we had several stops that night, but I realized after an overdose and a domestic violence that had positive results. These officers, they were more than just, they're not just peacekeepers, they're family counselors, they're mediators, they're lifesavers. And all these hats that they have to wear, they have to change them at any given moment. They never really know. And so I guess the comment that I wanted to make is that any wrong motion or any loss of focus, they could lose their life, and someone else could lose their life too. So I want to speak in support of our police officers. Thank you, Chief Gaviglia, for those great officers. I respect them highly. But I also want to say that never in my wildest dreams did I ever think that a police officer would be disrespected, targeted, bullied, and even hunted by the very community that they're supposed to protect, like is going on all over the country. And I hope to God it never happens in Union Township, but if it does, I'm thankful to be in Union Township. And so I want to make sure that our officers have everything they need, the equipment, the training, whatever they need to protect themselves as well as me and the rest of us. So I would support that levy, and thank you, gentlemen, for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Goodwin. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Goodwin.
And the Citizens Police Academy, real quick, is a great opportunity if you want to learn more about the police, what they go through. It's a great outreach to understand what they have to do. And I've had people complain about the police to me for different reasons, and I've always said, why don't you join the Citizens Police Academy and go through the training and learn more about what they do, and then come back to me and explain to me how you feel after that, because it's a real eye-opener as far as you found out.
Very true.
Someone else, please? You state your name and address for the record, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, Philip Dodge, 4525 English Creek Drive. I'm here to support both levies, the fire and the police levy. In the days that we have right now, I think we really need to have the best police and fire people available. I relocated here from Chicago 30 years ago, and one of the reasons I picked Union Township was at that time, they also had a good fire department, a good police department, and I've always supported that when I was in Chicago. And so that's why I built my house here, and I think we should support this levy.
Thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
very much, sir.
Thank you.
Bless you. Thanks for your service.
Thank you.
And welcome home.
If-
Yes.
For those who don't know, Mr. Dodge is very active in the community with helping with a lot of different projects, and not only thank you for your service in the military, but just to our community in
Continued.
general. Thank you.
Continued service with Vietnam Veterans America, Chapter 649. Absolutely. We've got a couple hands.
Sir? Just please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good
My
evening.
name is Dale White, and I live at 447 Ivy Trail. Recently, we had lightning strike our house, and I want to thank the fire department very much coming down there, not alone consoling us and comforting us, but helping us through. And what really helped me great was the next day, the gentleman came back to see if we are okay. To me, I really thank them, and I support the fire department immensely.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
White.
Thank you.
Ma'am? We'll get to everybody, so we'll give everybody a chance.
Hello.
Hello?
My name is Anna. I live at 4175 South Jensen Loop,
Okay?
Weatherby Farms. I just want to take a minute to let you guys know how much I support the fire department. In 2014, sorry, but
Take your time, you're fine.
they saved my son's life. He has a rare autoimmune neuromuscular disease, and I haven't had tears in years because of that. I don't know what's happening now. But anyways, so he stopped breathing for 5 to 6 minutes. He missed the first week of school. He was in, they came to our house, intubated him, and took him to Mercy Anderson, where they flew him to Children's in the helicopter. And he, you know, it took him a while to respond. We didn't know what was going to happen. But anyways, I just wanted to let you guys know how much, how grateful I am for the fire department. Let's show the pictures. Butler and Connell.
Your son's first name?
He's in 7th grade now.
Amen.
He was in the 1st grade.
What's his name?
Mason?
Mason. Okay,
Mason.
great.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes. God bless.
August 2014, so.
Wow.
Those are his heroes.
Your best.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Dodge.
Thank you.
Okay, there was someone else who wanted to speak over this way? Yes, please. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm Rhonda Weaver, 4422 Glendale Drive, and I'm here in support of the levy, which I'm so thankful that y'all voted to at least give us a chance to present it to the public. Last year, on May 23rd, I received a frantic phone call from my daughter at 7:30 in the morning that her baby was coming, which is a wonderful thing unless your baby is 2 months early. And she was. We stayed in contact on the way from where I was to where she was, and it became apparent about 3 minutes from her location that we needed the squad. We were not going to be able to, I have no problem delivering babies, but without any backup as far as oxygen, resuscitation, those kind of things, I was in over my head. So I made the phone call. They came. And they will forever be our heroes. The little one you hear in the back that has been an interruption this evening, she's not an interruption in our life. She's a miracle. And
Absolutely, absolutely.
Matt Green came out, and Tim Stevens, there you go, thank you, Beck. Tim Stevens was there. They loaded my daughter up, and within 8 minutes, the baby was here. She was born on the highway on 275, and there were probably some people who were very curious as they went by the ambulance that morning to what this old grandma was doing, standing on the bumper, looking in to watch my grandbaby be born. But they got her there. They took care of her. She was 3 pounds. She spent a lot of her early weeks and months in the NICU. But without them, there's not a doubt in my mind that she would not have made it. So we need this levy, and we need our heroes, not just for the older generations, but for our younger ones. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you,
sharing that
thank
story.
you.
Ma'am, I can tell you, I have 4 kids of my own, and they were all born in a hospital with a full staff available, and I was out of my league, and I didn't know what I was doing. So for you to even suggest that you may have been able to take care of things, you are way ahead of me, so.
This was our 10th grandbaby, so
Oh.
I might have been there
Oh, my
and done that, but not with a 3-pound one. Anyhow, this, by the way, is Helena Grace, better known as Laney.
Yes.
All right.
And
We've heard this-
her mommy Becky.
We were able to hear that story at the time it happened, and I'm so fortunate now to meet Lainey right in
Get to
person.
meet her.
Hey,
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as I heard her, she's a blessing. You know, all children are an absolute blessing, and
amen.
I love hearing your story. Thank you for sharing that. It gives me a flashback from my last child. Surprised these guys when I sent them a message that we had the baby in the middle of the night. But I thought it was going to be on 275 also as I was driving. But fortunately, we made it to the hospital. I was out of my league with that. So, absolutely. So, just what a blessing. So thank you for sharing that support.
Thank you. And there was someone over here.
2 more.
Okay.
Lady and
Come on up, give your name and address for the record.
My name is Melvin DeWitt. I live at 3902 Banks Road, Union Township, Ohio, not Cincinnati. First of all, to let some people know where I'm coming from. Longtime resident of Union Township, longtime resident in the area. I spent over 20 years with the fire department, EMS service. I concur with Stan Dimeling here. It is very difficult to prove incendiary and then find someone. So it does take the police cooperation, because that was one of the hats that I wore while I was with the department. These ladies here reminded me of some of the happiest times with the fire department when I caught one. Also reminded me of one of the saddest times when a child was killed on his bicycle 3 days before Christmas. But I'm now spending more of my time with the police department, with the Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association, and that reminds me that both departments need the money. They need it not just for personnel, but they need it for continuing education to keep their skills up, to keep their skills advancing. And they need a little bit of money for some public relation work, such as the Citizen Police Academy. And while like any taxpayer, when I see even 1 cent on my tax bill increase, yuck. But that's the times. And so I think we need to go forward with it. And that's my endorsement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you, Mr. DeWitt. Thank you for your years of service with fire and EMS.
And this lady in the middle here.
Hi, my name's Caitlin Kenny, 4128 McLean Drive. So I'm in support of both of the levies, but I want to talk about our most recent experience with the fire department. With COVID, I think everyone's lives are kind of turned upside down. And so for us, my 4-year-old, he turned 4 April 20th. So looking forward to his big party with his friends and family, and of course we weren't able to do that. But the fire department, I think gave him the best birthday he could have. So they came down our street, they had their sirens, they said happy birthday, Jonah, and we are just so thankful for that, because I think anytime we see a fire truck now, he's like, Mom, is it my birthday? Like, are they come see us? But we really do appreciate that, taking the time out of your day to make a difference, and that's something that he will probably remember forever. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
ma'am.
you. That's
Appreciate
great.
that. There was someone else in the back? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Shauna Dunn. I live at 728 Miles Lane, and I fully support our fire department and police department. I have been a resident for 32 years. I was a single mom, raised my 2 children here. I've had personal experience having to call EMTs, the police, rapid response. I think it was 2 years ago, 2018 in May, my daughter was on vacation with her 2 daughters. And I got a phone call from her, Mom, my house is on fire. The neighbor called. So I run over there. Yes, there was a fire. But the fire department got there very quickly because they live right on Glen Esther with Hinsville Road. I was very grateful that Chief Dimling let me take a peek after he proceeded to tell me the house was no longer inhabitable. So, but they got a brand new house. But we were very grateful that, they even they went in and got the cat for me, which was good. So no one was there. That was good. On another note, I, for the past 24 years, have served as the executive director of A Caring Place. We are a nonprofit pregnancy help center on Mount Carmel, Tabasco Road. And we opened in 1998. In 1999, I implemented our parenting classes, which we always provided quarterly, because we have a lot of young people, new parents, and we want to help them be the best parents they can possibly be. And for 21 years, our fire department has been involved in that program, and we're very grateful. For many years, Lieutenant Vicki Connington came in to our center and presented on car seat safety, infant CPR. She retired, so now Lee Schrickman does what he does for us, and we're so grateful that the fire department has people that go into the community to help educate, the people, especially the people that we serve. So we're fully in support of our fire department, our police department, and we're very, very thankful. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to kind of dovetail on what she just talked about, the amount of education and outreach is amazing. The fire department has a Year on Fire program with the West Clermont schools, where they go into schools and teach about fire safety. There are so many other programs like CPR classes, women's self-defense, gun safety programs, all of these things, right down to Halloween, where they go around and they meet kids and they hand out candy and things like that. They really are involved in our community. And when I first became trustee, I toured each firehouse, went around to see, what are we spending our money on? What are they doing? You would think, driving by, if there's no activity, well, they're probably just sitting on the couch doing nothing or reading the paper. They're not. They all have other jobs they do. One firehouse is in charge of going over like new plans for buildings, like to see if the plans include all the correct smoke detectors, and fire suppression. One firehouse has like they train in water rescue. They have like a boat. If someone's like trapped on a lake, like we've had people like animals and people trapped on icy lakes where we had to rescue them. And they have to practice that procedure. So one firehouse is in charge of all the oxygen and making sure the gas masks and things like that work properly. So when I went around, I was able to see each department had something unique that they did in their spare time when there wasn't a call going on. It was just amazing to me how much they were getting done with the crews we have. So another great thing they do is tours of the firehouse, like Cub Scout groups, Girl Scout groups, but you can contact our fire department, and I'm not sure right now with the COVID-19 going on, but at some point in the future, if you would like a tour of a firehouse to see what, like especially the water tower one's very interesting, they'll be glad to give you a quick tour and show you around so you can see firsthand what your money's being spent on. So it's very open. They're a great group of people to work with, and so I just wanted to mention that because she mentioned about the community outreach and education. It just is over the top as far as what they do. Anybody else would like to speak tonight? Yes.
Rebecca Weaver, 4422 Glendale Drive, Laney's mom. I wanted to say that, first of all, I fully support the levy. But not only did they deliver her, but after a really rough first year, and she spent a long time in the NICU, when her birthday finally did come on May 23rd, and it was kind of the pandemic, we didn't do much, but we were able to have the police department or fire department drive by and do a birthday drive-by for her, which made a really, really awesome memory. So I totally appreciate that for him.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great.
Well, I wouldn't know that she was in the NICU at this point.
Oh, I know.
Does anybody else like to speak? Wow, I really appreciate all the comments. I appreciate you taking time to come to our meeting, especially under these trying conditions. So, wow, those are some great stories.
Many positive comments. About which, the truth we already know about our personnel for the police and fire, both. Everything was said.
Yeah, absolutely. Very impactful to hear those personal stories there from those on that receiving end of the service, basically, you know, where that rubber meets the road, and you have every right to have a tear in your eye, you know, so. Same right here. Great.
Thank you again. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Or gentlemen, you have anything else you want to say?
Nothing.
All right. Being that's the case, we'll have our regular schedule in August. We'll have 2 meetings. We always traditionally meet the 2nd and 4th Thursday of the month. So I think August, at least we're on slate to do that. So we'll look forward to seeing you in the future here. Also, we live stream on YouTube, and these are played back on Facebook and on our website. So if you weren't sure what something was said in a particular meeting, you want to go back, you can watch it again later and say, you know, what were they talking about? I didn't quite get that. But always feel free to contact one of your trustees if you would like more information on anything. So, gentlemen, if there's nothing else, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Mr. McGraw?
Yes.
We're adjourned at 8:24 p.m.
Thank you very much. Thank you for attending tonight. And I believe it's raining, so enjoy the rain.
Yeah. Everybody.
Get your umbrella out.
Don't wash away.